Hello and welcome to the Stardesk SLS assembly guide. By now you should have all of your 3D printed pieces ready to go, whether you printed them yourself or you ordered them from us. You should have 24 3D printed pieces, not including all those small little black pieces like this ring here. But that does include some pieces that might have come with your kit, like this, the red NASA worm logo. So you'll need all those pieces, and of course you'll need the rest of the hardware that came with your kit. And now we're ready to get started. Okay, we're going to start with the 3D printed base, the micro USB splitter, and the LED strip. First, plug the shorter end of the micro USB splitter into the LED strip. Then, insert the female end of the splitter into its slot in the base, with the shorter wire on the bottom. Push it all the way down. You can bend the longer wire out of your way for now, so we can insert the LED strip into the correct location. For that, you'll want to angle the LED strip down so you can slide the end of it into a small slot behind all these little arches. The LEDs will be facing directly up. Then you can push the other end of the LED strip all the way down, making sure the wire stays tucked in the base. Next, we'll need the small clear 3D printed button. We'll put this into its slot next to the LED strip, but make sure you face it the correct way. The top of the button has a small ridge you can feel, and that's the side that faces up. And of course, the protruding button faces towards the front. So we can put that in this slot here, and then push it all the way back for now. Then, we'll need the NASA worm logo and the front panel. The letters can be inserted into the front panel so they stick out the front a little bit. Then the panel will slide down into the two grooves on the very front of the base. The next thing we'll do is put the reservoir on the base. Be sure the rectangular opening in the reservoir is on the left, like this. Now we're going to install the humidifier disc into the platform supports piece. Always be gentle with the humidifier disc. The wire connections can be pretty fragile, so never pull on the wires. If you break yours, or if they happen to be broken during shipping, use the form on our website to reach out to me and I'll send you a replacement. Okay, so we'll take our disc and make sure we have it facing the right way. The soldered wire connections are visible on the top of the disc. There's a little gap in the clear rubber gasket for the wires. The bottom of the humidifier disc has no gap in the gasket and it's flat all the way around. So with the bottom of the gasket facing down, we're going to insert the disc into the platform support piece. Before you start pushing it in though, you'll need to line up the wires with the little slot in the 3D printed piece. That's where the wires need to end up. And again, don't tug the wires. If you need to end up removing this disc from the platform support piece, you'll want to use one of the white wicks to push the disc out from underneath. Okay, so now you can start pushing the disc down. It will be a tight fit, so make sure you push all the sides down evenly and the gasket doesn't start coming off. And again, make sure those wires are lined up with that little slot. Next, you'll need one of your white wicks. You only need one, the other one is just a replacement if you eventually need one. Before you install this though, you'll need to go run it under a faucet to get it nice and soaked. If you don't do this and start with a dry wick, it can actually take quite a while to draw the water up, which will be pretty annoying when we try to test everything here soon. Okay, so take your pre-soaked wick and slide it up into the part from underneath. You need to insert the flat edge of the wick into the part, so that flat edge is what touches the disc. Make sure it's making good contact with the bottom of the humidifier disc. Then take the angled edge of the wick and insert that into the center hole of the reservoir, and align everything like this. That rectangular hole in the reservoir should still be uncovered. Next, we're going to take the green circuit board and plug two things into it. First, the other end of the micro USB splitter goes into the micro USB port. Second, the white connector of the humidifier disc will plug into the white receiver on the circuit board. Make sure you orient it correctly. There's a slot that prevents it from plugging in backwards. Before we put the circuit board in the base, Slide your clear 3D printed button all the way towards the front as far as it will go. It should be sticking through the front panel. Now we can slide the circuit board into position. The top of the board will be facing the front, and the left edge of the board will slide into a small slot in the base. And the black button on the board should barely fit behind the clear 3D printed button. Slide it all the way down. Now, you should be able to press your clear 3D printed button and hear it click. Alright, time to test everything. Find a power source and go ahead and plug your micro USB power cable into the base. The LED strip should turn on right away, and watch out, it's pretty bright. Then go ahead and push the clear button. You should see a blue light come on, and as long as you pre-soaked the wick, a little geyser of water vapor will erupt. If you push the button again, the blue light should start blinking. This is the intermittent venting mode, which basically just makes it vent on and off every few seconds. Push the button one more time and it will turn off. If everything seems to be working, we can proceed. If something isn't working right, double check everything is firmly plugged in and make sure the wick is still wet. If it still isn't working, reach out to me via our website and we'll get it figured out. After unplugging the power, we can now put the concrete pad piece on top of everything. And before we do that, I suggest placing your extra wick here inside the base so you don't lose it. Also, make sure your red and black cords are in between these two posts. Then make sure everything is lined up correctly and slide the concrete pad over all the posts with the clips facing down. Push the 4 clips firmly into the base. This part can be removed if you need to access anything inside, but try to be gentle when removing it as to not break the clips. Okay, time to build the tower. First, we'll need 3 pieces: the mobile launch platform and these 2 small white pieces called the tail service mast umbilicals. We're going to push those 2 white pieces into the 2 tail service masts. You'll see 2 dimples on each side of the white umbilicals. Those allow the piece to snap into place. The other side has a little tab that sticks up. That tab should be pointing up. These are a little tricky to install, so here's how I do it. Tilt the mobile launch platform at a steep angle like this. Then, holding the white piece vertically with the dimples near the bottom, place it into the tail service mast. It will need to snap in near the bottom of that opening. So again, while holding everything at an angle, put your thumb on the flat face of the white piece and firmly press it down and towards the bottom of the opening. You should feel and hear it snap into place, and it will still be able to move up and down. Then repeat with the other one. Now that those are installed, we can clip the mobile launch platform onto the platform supports. The tower should be on the right side. Next, you'll need a couple of duplicate parts: 2 core stage umbilicals and 2 middle tower sections. Make sure you get the right parts. The core stage umbilicals look like this, and the middle tower sections are the ones with only 2 levels, not 3. First, slide one of the core stage umbilicals into the cylinder at the top of our half-completed tower. Those little tabs that stick out should be on top. Push it all the way down. Then take one of the middle tower sections and push it down onto the clip on top of the tower. Be careful of the thin areas around the outside of the piece. Try to push on the middle column. Push it all the way down. Now we'll install another core stage umbilical in the cylinder, just like the first one. And again, install another middle tower section on top of the first one. Next, we'll need the other 2 tower sections, the crew access arm, and the other 2 umbilicals. First, take the upper stage umbilical arm. It looks like this. Insert it into the empty cylinder just like the first two, with the tall part facing up. Now, we'll take the upper tower section, which is the one that still has a clip on the top of it, install it like the first two, again being careful of the thin outer edges. On this tower section, you'll notice a rod instead of a cylinder. That's where we'll install the crew access arm. Make sure you face the crew access arm in the right direction. The flat side of the arm will be facing up. Now, before we attach the top tower section, we need to install the last umbilical onto that section. You'll see it has a gap on one side of it. The umbilical will go in that gap and then slide over this little semicircle part. Make sure the end of the umbilical is curving downwards when you install it. Finally, we'll swivel that umbilical so it's pointing upwards and hold it there as you install the top tower section on the tower. Then, when you release the umbilical, it should sit at a 90-degree angle to the tower. And with that, the tower is complete. Now onto the rocket itself. We can finally pick up our orange core stage. The first thing we'll do is install the small white semicircle piece. It's a little tricky and you don't want to flex the print too much. But you'll start by threading one end through the gap in between the core stage and the small pipe running along the side. Be careful not to push on that orange pipe, it can be fragile. And make sure you orient it correctly. The thinner edge of the white piece should be towards the top. It helps to keep the white ring up against the core stage while you push it through that gap. Once you get it all the way through, it will sit flush. The next parts we'll need are the white solid rocket boosters and all those small black circles and rectangles. We'll start with the black circles. For these, you'll want to slide them over the top of each booster, with the gap in the circle facing towards the other booster. As you slide it down, it will snap into place in the topmost ring in the booster. Then, take another one and slide it down until you hit the next ring. And keep doing that until all the rings in the booster have been filled. If you purchase the pre-printed kit, you should have a few extra of all those black pieces in case you lose them. After you've got all the black rings in place on both boosters, you can now slide the small black rectangles into the vertical slots in the booster. Those slots have a slight curve to them, which is what holds the black pieces in place. Make sure you push them all the way in. Next, we can install the orange core stage in between the boosters. Make sure you orient it correctly. The single pipe on the core stage will line up with the single pipe on the white part, and the double pipes line up on the opposite side. You may have to set it on a table and push down firmly to snap it into place. And finally, the Orion capsule and upper stage can snap on top of the core stage. Make sure you line up the holes on top of the core stage with the holes on the sides of the upper stage. Also, you'll notice a faint outline of the hatch door on Orion. That should be on the same side as the large venting hole on the core stage. And there you have it. Now just slide the rocket over the two posts on the mobile launch platform. Make sure the side with the single pipe is facing away from the tower, and push it all the way down. Now just one more thing. The miniature vehicle assembly building. It was made to appear like it's off in the distance, which is why it's so small. All you have to do is carefully slide the gray part over top of the white part. Again, you need to orient it correctly. The two shortest gray prongs will be on the side of the building with the extra part sticking out. Just slide that down all the way and it will lock into place. And before we place this final piece next to the rocket, You should know it has a dual purpose. The vehicle assembly building is what you should use to refill your reservoir with water. If you flip it upside down and fill it all the way up with water, it will hold enough water to fill your reservoir almost to the top. And you'll pour it into this hole right here. Then we place the building into its slot, covering all that up. This makes refilling the reservoir super easy. And now you're finally done. Plug it back in and fire it up. If you have any questions or issues, just use our website forum to let me know. Enjoy your rocket.